A Treatise of Satan's Temptations. By Richard Gilpin. A Discourse of the Malice, Power, Cruelty and Diligence of Satan. Second part of Chapter 17. Satan's deceits against religious services and duties. The grounds of his displeasure against religious duties, and more. 4. Fourthly, Satan is the more animated, to undertake a design against the ways of religious service, because he seldom or never misseth at least something of success. This attempt is like Saul and Jonathan's bow, that returned not empty, 2 Samuel 1:22. In other temptations, sometimes Satan comes off baffled altogether, but in this work, as it was said of some Israelites, he can throw a stone at an hair's breadth, and not miss, Judges 20:16. He is sure in one thing or other to have the better of us. His advantage in this case is from our unsuitableness to our service. What we do in the duties of worship, requires a choice frame of spirit. Our hearts should be awed, with the most serious apprehensions of divine majesty, filled with reverence, animated with love and delight, quickened by faith, clothed with humility and self-abhorrency, and in all the procedure of duties, there must be a steady and firm prosecution under the strictest watchfulness. Of this nature is our work, which at the first view would put a man to a stand, and out of amazement force him to say, "Who is sufficient for these things? Who can stand before such an holy Lord God?" But when we come to an impartial consideration of our manifold weaknesses and insufficiencies, in reference to these services, what shall we say? We find such a narrowness of spirit, such ignorances, sottishness, carelessness of mind, thoughts so confused, tumultuous, fickle, slippery, and unconstant, and our hearts generally so deceitful and desperately wicked, that it is not possible that Satan should altogether labor in vain or catch nothing. This being then a sure gain, we may expect it to be under a most constant practice. 5. Fifthly, if he so prevails against us, that the services of worship become grossly abused or neglected, then doth he put us under the greatest hazards and disadvantages. Nothing so poisonous as duties of worship corrupted. For this is to abuse God to his face. By this, not only are his commands and injunctions slighted, as in other sins, but we carry it so as if we thought him no better than the idols of the heathens, that have eyes and see not, that have ears and hear not. To come without a heart, or with our idols in our heart, is it anything of less scorn than to say, "Tush, doth the Most High see?" Besides, he hath given such severe cautions and commands in these matters, as will easily signify the aggravation of the offense. You see how sharply God speaks of those that came to inquire of the Lord with the stumbling block of their iniquity before their face, Ezekiel 14:4, 7. I will answer them according to the multitude of their idols. I will answer them by myself. Saul's miscarriage in offering sacrifice, 1 Samuel 13:13, was that great offense, for which God determined to take the kingdom from him. God's severity against Nadab and Abihu, his stroke upon Uzziah, do all show the hazard of such profanations. But, above all, that danger which both Old and New Testaments speak of, the hardening of the heart, blinding the eyes, dulling the ears, that men should not hear nor see nor be converted and saved, but that the word should, instead of those cordial refreshing smells, which beget and promote spiritual life in the obedient, breathe forth such envenomed, poisonous exhalations when it is thus abused and profaned, that it becomes the savor of death unto death, is most dreadful. No wonder, then, if Satan be very busy against these holy things, when, if he catch us at an advantage of this nature, it proves so deadly and dangerous to us. For what can more please him, that makes it his delight and employment to destroy? All these reasons evince that Satan hath an aching tooth against religious services, and that to weaken, prevent, or overthrow them is his great endeavor. Here then especially may we expect an assault, according to the advice of Sirach, Ecclesiasticus 2:1, 2, My son, when thou enterest God's service, stand fast in righteousness and fear, and prepare thy soul for temptation. What are the subtleties of Satan against the holy things of God, I am next to discover. Duties and services are opposed two ways: 1, by prevention, when they are hindered; 2, by corruption, when they are spoiled. He hath his arts and cunning, which he exerciseth in both these regards. 1. First, then, of Satan's policy for the preventing of religious services. He endeavors by various means to hinder them. As 1. First, by external hindrances. In this he hath a very great foresight, and accordingly he foresees occasions and opportunities at a distance, and by a long reach of, he studies to lay blocks, and hindrances in the way. Much he doth in the dark for this, and that we know not. As God hath secrets of wisdom, that are double to that which is known, Job 11:6, so also hath Satan many ways and actings that are not discerned by us. His contrivances of businesses and avocations, long aforehand are not so observed by us as they might be. Where he misseth of his end, it comes not to light, and often where he is successful in his preventions, we are ready to ascribe it to contingencies, and the accidental hits of affairs, when indeed the hand and policy of Satan is in it. Paul, that was highly studied and skillful in Satan's devices, observing how his purposes of coming to the Thessalonians were often broken and obstructed, he knew where the blame lay, and therefore instead of laying the fault upon sickness, or imprisonments, or the oppositions of false brethren, which often made him trouble, beyond expectation, he directly chargeth all upon Satan. 1 Thessalonians 2:18, We would have come unto you, even I Paul, once and again, but Satan hindered us. At the same rate, understanding the purposes of faithful men, for the promoting the good of men's souls, he often useth means to stop or hinder them. Some have observed, having a watchful and jealous eye over Satan, that their resolves and endeavors of this nature, have usually been put to struggle sore in their birth, when their purposes for worldly affairs and matters, go smoothly on without considerable opposition. 2. Secondly, he makes use of indispositions to hinder service. And here he works sometimes upon the body, sometimes upon the soul, for both may be indisposed. 1. First, sometimes he takes the advantage of bodily indispositions. He doth all he can to create and frame these upon us, and then pleads them as a discharge to duty. If he can put the body into a fit of drowsiness or distemper, he will do it, and surely he can do more this way than every one will believe. He may agitate and stir the humors. Hence some have observed more frequent and stronger fits of sleepiness and illness, to come upon them on the days and times that require their attendance upon God, than on other days. When they shall be lively, active, and free of dullness upon common occasions, at sports, songs, interludes, when they shall not have the light command of themselves in the exercises of worship. Surely it was more than an ordinary drowsiness that befell the apostles, Matthew 26:41. He had told them the seriousness of the occasion, that he was betrayed, that his soul was exceeding sorrowful even to the death. These were considerations that might have kept their eyes from slumber. When they sleep, he awakens them with a piercing rebuke, Could ye not watch with me 1 hour? And adds to this an admonition of their own danger, and the temptation that was upon them, and yet presently they are asleep again, and after that again. Strange drowsiness! But he gives an excuse for them, which also tells us the cause of it. The spirit is willing, their hearts were not altogether unconcerned, but the flesh, that is, the body, that was weak, that is, subject to be abused by Satan, who brought them into a more than ordinary indisposition, as is noted verse 43, their eyes were heavy. Thanks.